To maintain a competitive edge and the massive multiplayer online battles, you may want to consider tweaking some of the default settings in Battlefield 6. Let's look at the best game settings for some better aim. Players will be prompted to adjust some general settings upon starting up the game for the first time, but to fully customize your options, navigate to settings from the home page and go to keyboard and mouse, or controller if playing on console, or controller on a PC. The first big settings players will want to adjust is the Uniform Infantry Aiming and Zoom Sensitivity Coefficient. These settings activate an algorithm that helps translate movement and aim more accurately despite field of view and zoom changes, giving a closer, natural, or one-to-one feel of movement and sight at different focal ranges. The game defaults the zoom sensitivity coefficient to a much higher number than players actually want, as a coefficient of 0 is needed for the one-to-one feel. If you feel the need to adjust the assist when learning to aim at different distances, this is a tool that players can adjust, but for the smoothest and natural feel, leave Uniform Infantry Aiming on, but turn the coefficient down to 0. In addition to your focal settings and zoom settings, including custom sensitivities for each zoom level, players can also access their general infantry settings from the screen, making customizations to parachute functionality, revive interactions, and more. One big setting to consider adjusting here is the Interact and Reload priority setting. As these functions are typically on the same key if using a controller, players can tell the game to focus on interacting with the environment or other players over activating a reload mechanic, or vice versa. Back at the mouse and keyboard menu, if players navigate to the Vehicle section and click into Control Settings, players can find settings for general aiming and control, but one important setting players will find here is the Helicopter Control Assist setting. When active, players piloting a helicopter can activate a hover mode by simply not inputting anything on the controller. Possibly one of the biggest skills players must learn when becoming veterans of Battlefield is the difficulty of piloting aircrafts. And with this option toggled, players newer to the game can activate a sort of training wheels to help them learn piloting helicopters with less difficulty. Below the control settings option for vehicles, you can further dive into advanced controls for each type of vehicle, for the veteran pilots who want to add a little more customization to the game. Another important setting players must address will be found under the audio settings. In addition to customizing levels of each sound in the game, players should consider adjusting the hit indicator settings and the audio mix, depending on their desired experience. For those mostly jumping into the competitive aspect of multiplayer, the default audio mix may be sufficient. However, activating night mode can provide a lower dynamic range while maintaining clarity, meaning loud noises such as explosions and quiet noises such as footsteps will be closer in volume. This means your ears will not need to spend as much time adjusting to the sound of active gunfire to the sound of an enemy creeping up behind you. Additionally, keep hit indicator on to ensure audio feedback when damaging a foe. For those looking for a more immersive experience from the campaign, turn off hit indicator audio and consider either the high dynamics mix or one of the war tapes mix. High dynamics means there is a much greater volume difference between loud and quiet noises, as there would be in real life. This is audio similar to what we experience in most modern movie theaters, and to some listeners can add a more real feel to the experience. For some listeners, high dynamics can be frustrating, with certain sounds being way too loud for the ears and others being indiscernibly quiet. If you fall into this category, the War Tapes or War Tapes VAL setting will be your best audio choice. These settings use a narrow dynamic range with aggressive EQ peaks and distortion to simulate the effects one may experience in combat as explosions and gunfire are going off around you. For those who want the most immersive campaign experience, set the audio to Wargames VAL, or Very Aggressive Listening. The final settings players will want to adjust is the crosshair damage indicator. This will cause numbers to register on screen as you damage enemies. Typically, keeping this on is the best way to track how much damage you've done, or still need to do, to an enemy, how effective your weapon is at your current targeting range, and more. But if you want a more immersive experience in your multiplayer matches, you can toggle the damage number off, along with fully customizing the appearance of the crosshair reticle. To find these settings, head to Graphics, scroll down to Icons and Indicators, and select Crosshairs and Indicators. damage indicators do not show in the campaign. I've been Dakota with Game Rant. For everything else gaming related, check out GameRant.com or keep it tuned right here.